everybody. I wanted to come on and do an impromptu live today, so I haven't scheduled this one. I decided that I would just pop on and just say a quick hello to people and actually say a really big thank you to everybody for the lovely comments that have been coming in about the previous videos. It wasn't what I was expecting, and I have to say I'm absolutely delighted with people's response to my chatting about virtual reflexology and the energetic side of reflexology. So I've just made the decision to come on this afternoon and say some thank yous and to share some information. So I'm not working with my guys today because they are also busy with their own family lives, and we've had some family things that have been happening over around and about, and I thought it would be a good idea just to hop on and say some really big thank yous, and also to say that I think it's fabulous that so many people have come on board with this whole idea of virtual or distant reflexology. And the reason that I say that is because I know that there's a lot of people who are quite concerned about doing something that's this sort of wacky woo-woo. I remember listening to a lady who's she's fantastic in the financial world, and she'd been very into spreadsheets and all kinds of things about investing and the legal beagles of all that sort of thing, and the guides into like property management and all that kinds of things. And then it was just brilliant when I heard her talking about the fact that she discovered what she calls the woo-woo. And I'm actually called Auntie Woo Woo by a friend of mine's children. They all call me Auntie Woo Woo, so I've had that name for a long time now. So when I heard her talking about the woo woo side of life, I was thrilled, because I think that there's a lot of wanting to make sure that you can do this balance between the woo woo side of life and the practical down to earth side of life. And if we can manage to incorporate both of those, then I think that we're probably onto something which is really very special. And we're in this really odd time, aren't we? We're into this very strange time of the whole, COVID virus situation. It's changed everything. And, I just think this is quite amazing, because this is a global situation. We've never had that before since the Ice Age. This is global. So that means that we've actually all got an understanding. So I know every country and different states in America and different locations have handled it differently, and timings have been different, and the lockdown's been different. But we all understand that life has changed, and there are many blessings that have come from it. One of which is, I don't know that we in the world of reflexology would ever have considered, would ever have thought about, would not have opened ourselves up to the possibility of wanting to investigate, is it possible for me to be able to help my clients with reflexology and all my learning and my knowledge and time invested in reflexology? Would people have really considered that this would be something that would be a possibility if it hadn't been for the virus? And I know, my own journey into this, because I actually started out many, 30 plus years ago. I started out in what was called in those days the healing world. It wasn't Reiki, although I am a Reiki master, but it wasn't Reiki, and I didn't become a Reiki master until loads later. I'm just talking about very traditional, that whole, what happens if I just hold my hands, and what makes the difference. So, this takes me right back to the very beginning, and I've been doing distance sessions for people for 30 something years. What I just hadn't decided is I could actually imaginary decide that I'm working on somebody's feet, and that's been an extension for me. So even though I've been doing the distance work with people for always, it just seemed to be something which it's because it was very personal to me. These are my relatives. They live in in another country, and they both got COVID. They were both in intensive care, and I had this real wanting to see what I could do. I could have just done my normal healing, distance healing, my distant connecting, my what I call my connections. I could have just done that. Somehow or other I had this sort of what I call a yearning of a what if reflexology would make a difference here. So that was why it started in the garden. I was standing in my lovely garden and I just was thinking about them, and I shut my eyes and I just pretended that I was there, and I was doing, you know, my connections, and I was doing the work over the lymphatics, and I was working over the lungs, and that was how it all started. And I really genuinely felt something, and it really, I was like, oh, this is like the other work that I'm used to doing. And I'm reading posts now, so if you're interested in this, go and have a look at the group that Wendy Watson set up called Distance Reflexology. We're reading about people's experiences, and people are risking giving it a go because we can't treat our clients. And you know, I got these two beautiful bunches of flowers from my clients. They wouldn't have sent me those beautiful bunches of flowers if they hadn't loved the sessions that they'd received. This is a way that we can be there. We can use our knowledge, we can use our understanding. And I think sometimes there's a whole thing about, if you have that capacity. So I can only talk about things about how it is for me, because that's all I can talk about, because it's my life and I can't speak about anybody else's life. But I know I was really depressed as a teenager. And when I got into being able to see energies, and I'm going to be sharing some more stuff about energies here and on the academy, I started to be able to see the difference in people's energy systems. And I could see, and what I could see explained why I'd had such a tough time in childhood and as a teenager, because the word depressed means your energy is depressed, and I was depressing my natural skills and my natural energies and what I'd been given when I came here, and I wasn't doing it, I wasn't using it. So that was why it was locked in. Now, if we are people who are heart driven, which we are, aren't we? We do love to help people. That's why we've come into the field of reflexology and the energy places that we're in. If we're not doing that, which we've not been able to because of the lockdown, you know, you can get quite depressed, you can get quite anxious, you can get quite worried. The energy is not flowing, so we can end up with aches and pains and headaches and, you know, migraines and joint pain and irritability and menstrual problems and all kinds of things, because that energy that would normally be going in and out is coming in and then it's stuck. And I've got an incredible picture, which was a lady. I've got two pictures that I did many years ago. One was a lady who had chronic fatigue syndrome, and another lady was also diagnosed with something very similar, but the two ladies' pictures were so different. So one lady, and some of you who've done training with me will have seen this picture, right? So it's like energy in, energy out, so no energy. And the other one was energy in, stuck. It was just no flow. And I'm always, everything I talk about in gentle touch reflexology is about the flow. Don't worry about the techniques, just get into the flow. So in the field of reflexology, when we're told to not work and not use our hands and not do that natural thing that we do, it can cause us some health challenges and some health problems. And I think a lot of people have been affected by that. And it's so important, I think, to find different ways to use the natural gifts and just let it all go. Right? And by doing your distance work, you can do that. And I think that if you're, you know, if you can do it in like a virtual world, people are talking about having virtual meetings, and you know, companies are running in that virtual world now. Well, maybe we can be running in that virtual world now. And I think I'm using the word virtual as opposed to distance, because strangely enough, I actually think this is bringing us closer together. So I've been talking to a colleague today in Canada, and I feel really close to my connection with her. I was speaking to Dorothea sometime a while ago. She's in Belgium. So hi, Sharon, Dorothea, Bev, to Jackie Hamilton in Norwich. You know, talking to people all over the place. But I feel really close, and that sort of connection, that's why I always draw it that way. So people have been saying, you know, do we need permissions? I think it is a good idea, yes, to ask people, would you like a session? But then it also brings that a whole question up of, do I need to know what's happened? So I know lots of us do it very differently, this virtual thing. Oh, I'm just looking, I can see lots of people here. Hi, so Carrie, Jörg, Sam, Louise, Selena, Mary, Julie Beth, wonderful to see you. Thank you so much. I can't read all of my messages, but great to see that you're there. And so when we are talking about how do we do it, I think you can do it in any different way that you want to do it, because it's you. And if it doesn't feel right, I'm always saying it in gentle touch reflexology, if it doesn't feel right, it isn't. And I'm not very good at somebody saying you have to do it this way if it doesn't feel right to me. So I don't want to be the one that says you have to do this, because then I'd be doing the same to you. This needs to be something that you do your way. So we've seen lots of great things where people are talking about working in a surrogate way, also doing it with photos, so a before and after photo. We've seen it with people having pictures of people. Saw a cracking one yesterday where somebody had covered up a pair of boots with a pair of socks to be able to work over that as a visual. It doesn't matter what you do and how you do it, as long as you do it in a way that works with you. I don't think, personally, I don't think that you have to have a photo. I don't think you have to have a pair of boots covered in socks. I don't think you have to have a surrogate. I don't think you have to do anything. If you remember me, I was just in the garden and I just went, oh, maybe I could just do a session for him. And I just stopped and stood still, just imagined I was at the bottom of his I keep saying hotel, but it was a hospital bed. And then I just went in and went deep down and went very calm. And I waited, and then I started. And I did the same treatment that I would do just in the air, as if I was actually working on him. And I've worked on both him and his wife every day, and sometimes twice a day, just when the urge to just be there and do something and just see if anything helped. I felt so much stuff that I can't even begin to explain, and there's so much that's happened in my life that I can't explain. I've had some crazy experiences, a lot of which I was like, well, I can't tell anybody that. That's like, whoa. But the more that we let ourselves venture into that world, the more that there's possible, as long as we're coming from that point of a loving intention, love of self, love of the other. It's never about a push or a shove or whatever. Never about you need to do a treatment for anybody. That never works in my view. And maybe people are also going, well, I need validation. You know, did it work? How did you feel? Did you feel anything? Is that because we want to know? Is that because our head needs to know? Do we need to have that, you know? And it's lovely when it happens, but maybe we do want to have it, maybe we don't want to have it, maybe we need it, maybe we don't need it. But it's obviously sometimes that. There was a lovely one that I think I've read it today about somebody who fell asleep for 3 hours after their treatment. Well, you don't want to wake somebody up, do you, and go, how did you feel? Did you feel anything? Because that's counterproductive. So it may be that you get the information, maybe you don't get the information. So it's just to get out there and do it and just see what happens. And this week I found it really, really helpful, because I did the live last Sunday. If you haven't seen the live that Sharon Bowers, Bev Green Johnson and Arthur Credle we did all together last week. It's on YouTube, so you can go and have a look at that, along with another one about virtual reflexology. And then the week before I did one about reflexology, foot reading, energy, chakras and reflexology, and bringing it all together, and about colour. So I did this session last week, and then unfortunately my partner became a bit poorly. So I've had to take some time out over this week. But one of the things that I've been really, really grateful for, is family, and for people being there for me and for my fabulous partner. But also, I have been able to just sit really quietly and go, I can't change it, but I can just go really deep down and really quiet and really get on the love highway, and then I can start and do a treatment for him. Yeah. So because he went into hospital and he's out and he's improving now, but because he went into hospital and because he'd got the conditions that he'd got, he was put onto a COVID ward. So because he's been exposed to that, we have to be in complete isolation at the moment. So he's in one location and I'm in another. He's here, but we're in separate places. So that's just been something that's been, I can't go and hug him. I can't do all the things that I normally would do, but I can do a session. I have found that so helpful, because there's nothing worse than feeling helpless. And that's something that I was able to do. And I'm so grateful to a few very special people who've actually been doing some sessions for him as well. So to those of you, you know who you are, thank you so much. Because sometimes close relatives aren't the person who are the best people to be able to do the sessions. But it's been lovely for me. And there was one particular night when I was awake in the night thinking about him, and I thought, actually, let me just get into that mode and let me just do a session. Well, it helped me no end. Afterwards, I just went to sleep and slept so much better. It was incredible. So as an aside, if you've sent me an email and you're waiting for a reply from me, can you hang in there, because I've been a bit involved in things this week, and I'll be picking up my emails and getting back into it later. Some of you also have been fantastic, because after the session on Sunday and before our situation started, I was finding myself writing, just flowing, absolutely flowing about the virtual reflexology. And I was just writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. And so if you've got an experience of doing virtual or distance reflexology that you'd like to share with me, I'm going to be collating some of the information together to be able to put that into a book to help people who come along, who have come in after this experience, who might want to know more about, what is it. So if you've been involved in doing this for years, I'd love to hear from you. If this is completely new to you and you've just given it a go and you found that it works, I'd love to hear from you. So my email, if you want to send it through to, is office@surix.com. So I would be delighted to hear from you, and then we'll see which excerpts we can get into this book, because I think it's important to share that so many of us do it in so many different ways, and yet, maybe this is the time, because we've all been given the opportunity for going, well, you can't do hands-on, so what else can you do? So that's something which I just invite you to connect with. So that's why I call it virtual, stroke distance, whatever you want to call it. I also thank those of you who've been patient, who've ordered the books, because like a lot of books recently, I did sell out. So all of the books have come in over the last few days. So the emotions book, if you've ordered that, that's on its way, which is all about the mind-body links. The Gentle Touch Reflexology for Babies and Children book, that's now back in, and so is Fantastic Feet, the foot reading book, that's now back in. And then all the charts are all back in, because we sold out of those too. And then to the lady who spoke to me this morning, I said that if I did do a live, I would show you which are the charts that are in the pack. So the charts that are in the pack are the Gentle Touch. This is the ones I used, by the way, on the one that's on YouTube about energy, foot reading and chakras, which was, I think that was 2 weeks ago. So there's the reflexology foot chart, then there's the hand reflexology chart, There's the 5 essentials chart, the foot reading and hand reading, and then what are all the double spaces, and then the energy and chakras from the front view and from the side view. So these are the charts that I use when I'm teaching to explain about how to be able to connect in, and how to be able to use like the color coding systems to be able to say that there's a whole easy way of being able to use these, because what I was saying, have a look at the video, it's on YouTube, but what I was saying is basically choose the colors and follow the colors all the way through the charts. So I've just seen there's some really great comments, and I'm so sorry I haven't been keeping up with them. So Elena saying, yeah, good point, that what's the difference between Reiki versus virtual reflexology? I personally think that it's like setting an intention, and I'm always saying this, aren't I? It's like go into yourself, get on your love highway, settle in, and then do whatever it is that you do. That might be a healing modality, it might be whatever modality it is you want to do. In our case, we're talking about doing some reflexology. I think it's all about setting the intention and getting on the love highway. I always talk about this. Energy follows thought, get on the love highway, right, and on we go. So as we are connecting in, Reiki is a vibration, aromatherapy is a vibration, acupuncture is a vibration, reflexology, whether you're talking about, you might be talking about VRT or finger free or Rauschur or whatever. They're all, that's why I talk about the reflexology rainbow, because you've got like, hard pressure and light pressure. Oh, I think we've got a bit of a problem trying to connect in. I think we might have lost the signal for a bit, but maybe it might come back again. I'm going to keep going just in case it comes back. It looks to me as if it's not playing, but it might be. But if we've got all the different selections of reflexology, and then you've got the vibrations going up and down, all of them are valid. So I want to be able to reassure you that whatever it is that you're doing will be valid, whether you do it in the name of reflexology, whether you do it in the name of Reiki, whatever it is that you do it in the name of, that's a really great thing, because reflexology, Reiki, etc., everything works. Reflexology is not Reiki. Reiki is not reflexology. Yeah? They are different vibrations, but you set the intention, you work from the heart, and then you're able to take that forward. So hi Dorothea, thank you. Hi Christina, Simone, Donna, member of the family. No, so this is, we were talking about when I was saying, Surix, you said you have family with COVID. We did have, because this was right at the very beginning of the experience. So this was many weeks ago. Everybody, they live on a different continent to me, and they're now clear. One of them's home, and one of them's in rehabilitation, having had a stroke, and is progressing very, very well. So that's where we are at the moment. Julie, Tara, hi. I feel like that too, helpless with my sister and who's in so much pain. I need to try and do this. Sam, give it a go. You've got absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. Please just give it a go. The most important thing is to make a connection with yourself first. It's not about going out and making a difference. It's making a connection in yourself. By that I mean, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, getting in yourself, and being able to get in and down. Absolutely get in and get down. Find your pelvis, rock and roll, find your pelvis, sit in it. Imagine your pelvis is a bowl and just like go, right. So anybody who's sitting down now, right, can you find your pelvis? Do you notice your brain goes to go pelvis? Sorry, what? And you go in and you check and you go in and down. So now sit in your pelvis. And when you're like in the center of your pelvis on your love highway, that's when you can then start to do it. So Sam, get in, get down, right? Remember how much you love your sister. If you feel a yearn, stop, because that's a energy, not a nice energy. And I know this from my own experience this week, yeah, with my own partner. So when I did have I was like, whoa, Sue, don't do anything. Get in, get down, settle, almost like disconnect, and get in and get down and just stay quiet and still. And then when the stillness comes, that's when you start doing whatever it is you're doing. Maybe you lift your hands and you start working imaginary, or maybe you're working on your own feet, which I know a lot of people are doing, or maybe you're working on the socks on the boot, or whatever it is, whether you're just having your hands on and working maybe on a photograph. It doesn't matter. Whatever you're doing, you are doing it, and that's absolutely great. So Sam, lots of love to your sister. And we all, anybody who's on this group, everybody now will be sending love to your sister. So that's a lovely bonus. Hi Sandy, thank you, darling. So Donna, thank you. Inspiration as always. Oh, thank you for sharing. Absolutely great. Intention is vital in all we do, face to face or distance. The key, absolutely, is set the intention. And anytime you feel what I call practitioner whoosh, stop. Just settle in, just be quiet. And that's why it's almost like, do you need feedback? If you do need feedback, absolutely fine. But do we? It's just worth thinking about. Or your sister's in Tenerife. Sam, absolutely, definitely. Give it a go. It doesn't matter where, it really genuinely doesn't matter. You can, this is another thing, people are saying, you know, we need to know when we're going to do it and we're going to start at a specific time, and that's exactly what I do sometimes. So with my clients, I'll say I'm going to start at 2 o'clock, yeah, and then we can have a conversation afterwards if you want to. I'm even changing that now, because what happens if my client's gone into a really beautiful deep sleep? I did start out at the beginning saying I'll start at 2 and I'll ring you at 2:30 if we booked a half-hour session. I even changed that, saying if you'd like to speak to me at the end of the session, please ring me. Because if your client's gone into this deepest sleep, their deepest connection with themselves, do you want to wake them up? Probably not. So there's such deep healing going on in the world at the moment. This is such an important time. People, you know, all these parents who fortunately got to know their children. So for some children it's great, some children it's not great. But I mean, I've been watching some of the posts from some of the mummies been posting things. Amazing. One of the mums, I love the comment, somebody said, am I learning everything to do with the work that's happening with school? No, but we're great at creativity and painting and baking, and we've learned how to do this, that and the other. They'll remember that for the rest of their lives. So we're making real reconnections with ourselves, and that's what's an important thing to do. So even my sessions with my clients, I've stopped ringing them afterwards. I say, ring me if you'd like to chat. The session will be from about 2 till about 2:30. I don't even know what time I'm going to finish. I try to take care of myself and not run over too much, but it may be that you find that they are asleep, and well, why would you want to wake them up? So this is something which is just something. Oh, here we go. Oh, Claire Marie, I'm saying I should try this next week. And a friend, yes, absolutely. Oh, Melanie, hi. That's lovely. Oh, what does whoosh mean, Lena? Okay, so this is what I call a Susie phrase. Practitioner whoosh is something that I realised I was very guilty of when I first came into reflexology. Because I'd meet somebody and I'd hear them talking about something, and then I'm like, oh, whoosh, you need reflexology. And there's that whole boof of energy that goes out towards the person. Well, that, like, I've said it before when I was talking with a friend of mine, and she was like telling me what I've got to do. Now, I'm really sensitive energetically, really sensitive energetically. And those of you who are sensitive, you'll understand this. And I'm sure masses of you, you know, anybody who gets to watch this later, you know, this may resonate with you. When people, what I call whoosh, it's when there's like a sort of a cloud burst of energy that goes rocketing off and you're like, whoa. You can really feel these whooshes of things. And we found that there was a real thread within our family of a real push thing. And it's been brilliant to identify it and to be able to go, okay. And I had to have some experiences in my life where I was being whooshed to know that I was being whooshed. So this is where I say, when I say, every time I'm teaching gentle touch reflexology, many of you have heard me say this: do you whoosh, or are you a whoosher, or are you being whooshed? So this is the way I may describe it. If the Queen Mary is going into Manhattan, into the harbour, the ship goes in, but there's a bow wave that goes first. So it's not the ship that gets there first, it's the bow wave that gets there first. So as the ship's going into Manhattan, I understand it now docks underneath Brooklyn Bridge. And I have a lovely friend who lives just near the Brooklyn Bridge. And on Friday, next Friday, in other words, in a couple of days' time, my lovely friend and I were due to be sailing on the Queen Mary from New York back to Southampton to celebrate our birthdays. For obvious reasons, that's not happening now. So we've moved it back. And so I'm looking forward to going and see my friend at the Brooklyn Bridge and experiencing that lovely trip. But as the ship goes in, the bow wave goes first, and it's the bow wave that gets there first. So our actions and our intentions are like the bow wave. So when I'm talking about doing reflexology and I'm talking about doing the solar plexus, if you're moving forward, this bow wave, this energy around your thumb is what arrives first, before your thumb. And sensitive people can feel that, and that's why babies can as well. So even when we think we're being gentle, we may not be being gentle to a sensitive. And if you are sensitive, you may be being whooshed by people, right, and not knowing. So if you have the way to describe it is the of I want to help. That's what I call a whoosh, which is when it's like, whoa, rein it in. And I now say that I help more people in my clinic space by doing less than doing more. And I was replying to somebody on Facebook today, and I said, actually, I think that in some cases, I do think that the virtual or distance reflexology is more powerful than the actual hands-on stuff. And I know that's horribly controversial, and that's part of the reason that I was a bit nervous about talking about this. But for those of us that this is okay with, that's why I'm doing my best to step out and actually speak on behalf of people who find that this is something which is right for them. Because if we are in a situation where we're thinking about it, it's very easy for our brain to sort of take over and manage the system. Whereas if you can't see somebody, it just happens, and there's no things that start to block it. And so that's the giver and the receiver. So the person who's doing it isn't going, and if you're new to this, you might be going, am I doing it right? Well, should I be doing this? And what am I supposed to do? And your head might be taking over. Whereas your inner knowing absolutely knows what to do, but only when you can like sort of rein yourself in and just get back. So I know it's long and convoluted, but I hope that explains whoosh. It's keep everything a bit back. So Simone, thank you very much. And Bernie, hi sunshine, thank you so much from Florida. I saw you on a boat. Woo! And I think I've heard people talking about being on a boat about 3 times in the last couple of days. I thank you all for talking about your boat trips, because it was great, because I just sat in my living room in Loughborough in the UK and went, I'm just going to imagine that I'm on a boat now. So thank you for taking me with you out to the sea. And when I'm looking at you at the camera, just out of my eye line, I've got a picture which is actually outside on a shed. And it's a picture that I took on our amazingly fortuitous trip when we went to Florida, and then we went to Hawaii, and then we went to Seattle, and some of you here, so I met some of you on that trip. And the photograph that's just out there is of our trip to Hawaii, and it's the beautiful blue sea and the waves, and there's a palm tree, and honest to goodness, every time I walk into here and I see that picture out there, I just beam. It's wonderful. So keep spreading the light, keep spreading all of the loving intention that you want to do. I wrote a note here. Let me just check to see if I've got that. Yeah, I'm doing a live freehand today, no crew. Thank you so much for, we had some lovely feedback on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you want to go and see the previous ones, they're on YouTube. And if you do the subscribe thing, you get a notification when I put a new one up. Yeah, go and have a look at the fantastic group called Distance Reflexology that Wendy has set up. You can use the photos, surrogate, boots, whatever it is that you want to do. Do you need feedback? Covered that. Apologies if you've sent me emails and I've not replied. I do apologise. I'm getting into it now. Now that my family things are sorting out, and unfortunately my lovely partner is improving. If you'd like to send me any experiences, because that book is just absolutely happening, and I wrote so much last Sunday. I can't believe how much I wrote. So if you want to be part of that, then email me, office@surix.com. I've just thought, who was it who asked about woosh? It's Leonie. If you want to know more about that energy side and setting yourself up and practitioner woosh, there's stacks and stacks of my training on the Surix Academy. So if you go to surix.com/academy, and I'll just go and I don't know whether it still is live. I was doing a code for 50% off, which is in capitals spring, SPRING. I think it's still live. If not, just message me. So that'll get you the first month at half price. So all the time that you're a member, you have access to, and there's hundreds and hundreds of training videos and things that are on there. So this is an impromptu. Thank you so much for Frida. And whenever I do distance Reiki, it seems to be more powerful. Michelle, well, yeah, very interesting, isn't it? How that often is the way. And it is something which I do think is a really important thing, is just being open to the fact that it might, in some cases, be more powerful because your head's not getting in the way and there's nothing of that that's getting caught up. So Liz, hi Sue, and Reflexology family from an overcast Milton Keynes. Sam, I would say your academy is the best investment anyone can make. I love it. Oh, bless you, Sam. Thank you so much. I've been in this environment, this world for 30 years. When I made the decision to semi-retire, I was like, how do I do this? Because I love trying to make life easier for people when I found it proper difficult. I'm not saying how difficult, but I found it proper difficult. So I poured everything into the academy. So, you know, it's life tips, it's how to be happy, it's achieving your goals, it's reflexology, it's baby reflexology, working with people who've got cancer, foot reading, EFT, NLP, feng shui, everything's in there. And it's a monthly membership site, and I add to it every single week. And I'm utterly thrilled at the feedback that I've had from people. So thank you so much to anybody who's given me the feedback, and that's great, Sam. I love that. In fact, it's the best investment anybody can make. So where is it? Right. So I agree, the Academy holds so many revelations and fantastic information. It's surix.com/academy. If you put the code in of spring, SPRING, you'll get the first month at 50% off. And as any time that you're a member, you have full access to it. And there's hundreds and hundreds of things in there. So here we go. So Lynn, Oh, thank you, Leslie. Thank you. Interesting information. Thank you, Sue. Always interesting. Just joined the academy. So much learning in there. I know. Well, the thing is, I'm really interested in loads and loads of things, and they've helped me. They've changed. You would not recognize me now to the person I started out at, and I've put it all in the academy. Absolutely everything. I put money tips in. I've put all kinds of things in it that have changed my life, because I don't, you know, it's something that I don't want it just to all be in here. And it all started, I don't know whether you've heard this before, but it started with my client who came and went, well, you've barely touched my feet, because I do gentle touch reflexology. You've barely touched my feet, but my skiing accident injury, that's gone. How did you do that? And then she carried on coming because she found it just made such a difference to how she felt about life. And we would talk about relationships and all kinds of things. And then she just said to me one day, how do we get all that knowledge that's in your head? How do we get that out? So she started asking me deliberately questions that she'd heard from friends, and I was able to come back to her with answers on things, and she went, right, we've got to get that out. And that was how the academy started. So it is, and I'm just interested in, that's part of dyslexia. If any of you are dyslexic, you know that you have a woof brain, and you're interested in all kinds of things, and lots of things energize you. So if that's you, then absolutely, you know, then I was told you've got to just concentrate on one thing. Not me. Can't do that. But I'm really enjoying the fact that so many people are really appreciating the academy. We've just been putting some stuff about feng shui, EFT. I was doing some EFT with my sister this morning because I love it. It's brilliant, and I've just been teaching it, and some of the feedback's brilliant. Kathleen, the more distant reflexology I do, the more I feel connected to the client. Thank you for your encouragement to give me the confidence to talk about it. Kathleen, I'm with you. Honestly, I am with you on this. It's nerve-wracking. And somebody in reflexology has sent me a message, and they're not happy about it. And I get that. I absolutely get that. But for those of us that it's right for, and there is a small but beautiful and growing band of people like us where it is okay. And if we can look after each other and support each other, that's absolutely what I want to do. I couldn't say boo to a goose when I started out in reflexology, and I'm so surprised that I'm involved in this. But I do feel this, can I help to support other people so that we can do that? Remember, that's what I was saying at the beginning, the woo-woo stuff. So let's absolutely support each other. So I want to say a really big thank you to everybody who's joined me on the session here today. Feel free to pop your comments on if I've not answered your comments. And I know I didn't even answer comments last Sunday because I came off the live. And then what's happened after? Oh, yes. So I came off the live last Sunday, and then the book went poof, and I was writing like mad. And then during the night, my partner became poorly. So I haven't even replied to any of the messages from last week. The good news is my partner, those of you who know him, he's doing absolutely great. He's on the mend, and he'll be back to his gorgeous self very soon. So he's well on the way. I'm much happier now than I was at the beginning of the week. He's well on the way. So thank you. And thank you so much to those who's been sending us very loving and positive vibes. So lots of love to everybody. And I'm going to see if I can find it, because I'm doing it on my own this time, so I've got to find out how I do the ending, etc. So cheery bye, lots of love.